What is good, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Milwaukee Entertainment News. I am your host, DJ Bro. This is an awesome time to be alive. We got Nick Smith in the building. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
And I am still trying to figure out how many bands you're in, how you can do it all, how you can keep a personal life, everything, man. Just like, what all bands are you in?
Well, I'm in four. I'm in a band called 10 Feet Tall. They're a variety rock band that plays everything from the 50s all the way to the present time rock hits. I'm in a Iron Maiden tribute band called Aces High, a tribute to Iron Maiden. Um, Play all the classic and all the deep cut Maiden tunes that the classic metal lovers love. I'm also in a band called Hangar 18, Megadeth tribute band, big favorite of mine for metal. Um, Play all the deep cuts, all the popular stuff from Peace Self, So Far So Good So What, Rust in Peace, and so forth. And then I recently just joined the band Conniption out of Milwaukee, original metal band.
Yeah. You're going to be able to bring out some on before tapped stuff into you, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. See what's going around in that nugget of yours a little bit and see what originals you can pump out with, all right?
Well, I actually was just actually at the studio this morning, so I actually got to lay down a track with the guys. They're very cool. They're basically their album is almost done. It's been in the works for some time, putting a lot of heart, sweat, and tears into it. But they let me write a song with them, which I'm excited and stoked about. And they're including me on the album, which is killer. So.
Yeah. Now, that's a lot of different sounds that are happening over there. So, a lot of people have a milestone of just having one rig, but since you got to get different sounds, I know you got like, quite a few different rigs. What all do you got planned over there?
Well, so for 10 Feet Tall, we felt like with the variety that we do and the mixing, how we sound as a band, we felt the best way would be to go direct. So I use a direct setup. I use a Zoom B6 Zoom pedal, multi effects, and I run that through a QSC powered wedge. So basically, we control our own mix. We can add whoever we want on stage, usually using an app from our sound guy. Um, with the Aces High Tribute to Iron Maiden, I use a Fender Rumble 800 head with two Fender Rumble cabinets. It's got a distinctive tone with the Fender, of course, so I can really dial in that Steve Harris tone and that pluck that he has. That's so iconic, basically.
Yeah.
Um, for a Hangar 18, I basically use the same. I use the same rig for that as well. Um, Again, a different sound, different dialing and different EQing for the Megadeth sound, for the Dave Ellefson sound. And then for conniption, I use a Mesa Boogie Subway D800 head, and I'm running that to two Subway cabs, a 210 cab and a 115 cab.
Is it a really weird difference with the 210 than a 410, or is it just a power difference?
They make these cabinets now just as powerful. The days of bass players hauling, 200, 250 pound rigs is gone. I mean, there's still some people that like to do it old school and like to get the MPEG 810 cabinets with the built-in dolly bar in the back. And it just kills me to look at that. And I'm getting too old for that shit to be hauling that kind of stuff around. So these new age bass amps, whether it's a Mesa Boogie, whether it's a Fender Rumble, whether it's the Mark bass, there's so many out there now that are like a fraction of the weight of what the old school ones are. My bass cabinet, one of my bass cabinets for the Mesa Boogie is like 35 pounds versus a straight old school cabinet that probably weighed 100 pounds.
Right.
So carrying it up a flight of stairs is no biggie. I can carry it up with one hand. So
Man.
and it produces just as much power, and it sounds just as good as the old school stuff too. So yeah, I mean, technology has come a long way, and I'm all about jumping on board with it as I have. So
Yeah, I just had a couple of those Sonic 215s, those little dual 15 cabinets. I bought them, rewired them, put new stuff in them. Never used them.
oh, Sonic, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Right.
I used to have a bunch of Sonics myself. I don't even remember what I did with them.
And those things were just so big, bulky, and heavy. Now I live on the second floor, so I got stairs going down. So whenever I'm doing a gig, it's really hard on those stairs. So I really just stick with my powered rig. But man, I low key haven't even. You all right?
Yeah, I'm adjusting my. Oh, I'm sorry. There
It's
you
all good. Just making sure you're not falling down over there. You ever seen that kind of stuff where, like, yeah, this kind of jumps off topic, but it just makes me think. Where, like, you're just watching something and then it falls and then you fall with it.
go. Yeah.
I guess, I guess my uncle, when he was a teenager, any time you'd catch him at a party and, that my dad didn't want him at, he would just flick on and off the lights really fast and he'd fall backwards. So every time I see something like that, I instinctually just like I don't know. I just want to kind of like follow it.
Good. Just go with it.
Right. That's why I can't drive trucks. Like I drove a Peterbilt for a little bit for this armored truck thing, and it's so tall. You're going over an overpass and you're looking down at the city, and then next thing you know, you're getting closer to the edge, and you're like, oh no. Yeah, I don't know. You
Big
get like
truck.
that
A little bit. Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah. No, I mean, not extreme, but a little enough to be like irritating. It's
right?
like, oh, man.
Start rubbernecking into accident. Next thing you know, you're about to hit the fucking fire truck that's parked there. Oh shit,
Oh
my bad.
God. That's bad enough. It's bad enough that the drivers nowadays, anyway. So on top of it,
Right. Which is your favorite of the rigs?
I would have to go with the Mesa Boogie. I'm a big Mesa fan. I always wanted one, and I saved up the money and bought my rig probably about 7 years ago. So um, it's it's just a great amp. It's a very versatile amp. You can produce pretty much any kind of tone out of it, play any genre, and it just works.
Do you run a lot of effects pedals, or do you
I
just
well,
kind of
I use that Zoom Multi B6 pedal effects, and I run some effects, and it's kind of to a minimum now. However, with being in conniption now, with doing original music, I can patch in some different stuff. For covers, it just depends. If it's a distinctive cover that's being used as an effect, a song that has an effect. Like Lemmy, like Motorhead, Ace of Spades. Then there's an overdrive patch, that I can duplicate that Lemmy sound like he did when you played out of a Marshall cabinet, so to speak. Um, so it comes in handy for other things too. I mean, obviously it's got your built-in tuner, but I like the compression in it. The compression in it sounds really good. Makes the bass sound tight, punchy. The clarity's pretty good on it. Again, technology. I tried to get all the pedals to separate pedals, and it's easier just to get it in all one effects pedal. The sound and the tone they make nowadays, even for guitar players, these guitar players have these Kempers, and these guitar effect pedals they have are just crazy what they can do and how good they sound. They sound just like a real amp. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And everybody's going to that nowadays too. For bass, you know, I don't mind the direct, but I also like having an amp too on stage because it gives it a little more, fills the back area a little bit with a little volume. The drummer can hear you a little bit better, feel you a little bit better. So that's just my cup of tea. But obviously for 10 feet tall, that's the preference that everybody else wants to do. So I'm fine with that.
So you prefer effects or you prefer raw sound? When you're at home and you're just kind of like in your mood and you're just over here majestic as shit, just kind of floating around, when you're playing,
I
just on
could,
some.
I could do without the effects. I can take it or leave it. I mean, some stuff that comes in handy as long as I have a good amount of compression and I have a good preamp in my guitars. I am a big fan of active pickups. My Iron Maiden basses, my Steve Harris signatures, those are passive basses, so they don't have any active pickups in it. So that's the only ones. Other than that, I have all actives with all preamps in it for all my other basses.
The bass itself, how much of a. Now, with the effects, the way that I've always kind of viewed effects is that you could have any kind of bass if you're running a lot of effects, but if you don't want to run effects, you have to find the right bass to get you that right sound. And
True. They're
and
very, very true. I mean, yeah, different pickups have different tones, different configurations. There's so many of them too. I like EMGs. Some bass players like Seymour Duncan's, they all have a distinctive tone and a different broad or thinning sound that certain bass players like. So, and I found that the EMGs now, I actually like the Fender ones too. That come the Fender noiseless that come with the jazz basses. I'm a big fan of J basses a lot. The pickups in there are outstanding. They're great. The one bass I use for conniption, it's a Fender Ultra bass. It's a J bass. It came with noiseless pickups, but I swapped them out. I did a custom job. I swapped them out for EMG pickups and put an EMG preamp in that guitar. So for conniption, I get a gritty, heavy tone that cuts through the mix a little bit better, and it makes the bass more recognizable in the songs that are written for conniption. So I think that turned out really cool.
Yeah. So which bass is your favorite? Would it be your Fender? Like what all basses do you have?
They're all Fender except two brass.
He said, "Fuck Ibanez, fuck Washburn, fuck
I've had
fucking."
them all, but I'm a huge Fender guy. I mean, there's this, in my opinion, Fender is the most versatile bass guitar you can get. Now, that being said, Fender makes them in 4 and 5 string models. They've had some discontinued 6 string models, and I used to play a 6 string bass and a 7 string bass. And really, the range on those things are really cool and all that, but it's not really used in the music that I play. So I figured it wasn't of any use. But since joining Conniption, I would like to get a 6 string bass again with that higher range, with that higher C. Really makes you can write some really cool melodic, really cool stuff with it. So Fender doesn't have it, but I am looking into ordering one from the Fender Custom Shop with
Huh.
all my specs on it, and hopefully I can get that in a couple years.
Oh yeah. What's the what was the difference in that? I trying to actually remember the actual question was. It was one of those thoughts came in and out. Damn it. Which yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, fuck. All right, then fuck it. We'll just go on. So, how did you get started into music? Like, what in your life made you go, this is what I want to do for the rest of it?
Well, being in the household, basically, my mother was a huge music lover. My father, not so much, which was surprising, but my mother was a huge, and she still is. She was definitely into rock and roll, and we were growing up with my 2 siblings. All we did was listen to music. There was music in the background in the house all the time, every time. No matter if we were doing chores, no matter if we were sitting eating dinner, there was some kind of background noise. And she was a big fan of like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, those Zeppelin, Janis Joplin, all those artists. So when I saw them, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And just the melodies, the rhythms, the catchy choruses, they just really inspired me to really get into more music. Um, so when I went to grade school, I actually started taking trombone lessons. So I was able to sight read and learn how to read sheet music, learn the bass clef. And then after that, I decided, after hearing all these rock bands, especially like when the what is it, the new wave of British heavy metal came, it was a big thing growing up. Just like listening to Def Leppard and certain bands like that, really
Oh,
wanted me to go get a bass, and then I thought, well, I really want to get a bass, but I also really want to try guitar. So which one did I want to do? Well, I decided to try the guitar first. Went to the music store. The teacher there is actually a Facebook friend of mine, Peter Mack, phenomenal musician. The guy is just incredible. He was a guitar teacher and a bass instructor. I went there to try to sign up for guitar lessons, and bad luck be have it. There was no more room. He was totally booked out. There was no spots left. But he said that if I was interested in bass, that there were plenty of openings for bass lessons. And thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm going to give it a shot. I always thought some certain songs had some cool bass lines. And, the rest is history. I picked it up. I started learning it. I started learning, your basic stuff, your basic root notes, your basic major and minor scales, certain, chromatic exercises, all different kinds of things, fundamentals. And then, eventually I started, advancing into different kinds, different techniques, different styles, blues, funk, rock, classic rock, metal, thrash metal. I even did death metal. So I kind of experimented with it all.
I gotta say, when you said everything from on that the British wave, and you mentioned Def Leppard and Janis Joplin and all the stuff that you grew up on, as well as the hair band stuff, those are completely different sounds than like Iron Maiden and Megadeth and stuff like that. Like, I mean, like, did you off the bat just get a couple different basses, or?
My first, and I did listen to Iron Maiden back then and all that, but that to me, that music was very intimidating back then. So when I first started, listening to them, so when I heard the Def Leppard bass parts, I'm just like, no disrespect to Rick Savage, but his was a lot of rip playing, so I wanted to use that as like a starting platform, for me to try to pick up and learn the tunes myself, or whether that or take lessons. My first bass was actually a West Tone bass. I actually had three West Tones. I bought three West Tone basses in a year and a half span. And my first bass amp was a Gorilla bass amp, a little 10 watt called Gorilla.
Man.
Thing was crazy looking. It had a little, animated gorilla on the front of it. I'm not sure some of the bass players on the Milwaukee area that are around my age have seen that or are familiar with that bass. So that bass amp. So I've had so many basses, so many bass rigs throughout the years. If I would have saved all that up until the present day, I probably could have opened my own music store.
That's that I think is the case with like a lot of musicians that have been doing it for years. Like,
And you think you're set on one thing, you get a guitar, and you're like, oh, this is kick ass. I don't need another guitar. Next thing you know, 2 years later, you're trading it in, and you're getting something different. It's kind of one of those things. Now, obviously, with the Fenders, I won't budge on it, especially the American made Fenders. They're just built so well. They play so well. The intonation's always spot on. They never go out of tune. They got the coolest tone. It's set up for funk too, if I want to do that. It's a bass that I won't part with anymore. But I've tried all the other ones. I've tried, God, I've had some Gibsons. I've had the West Tones. I've had, I've had a lot of Ibanez.
you didn't
I
like
think
the
I had a Kramer.
Ibanez's?
I did and I didn't. I wanted kind of hard to explain. There's something in the tone and the feel of the bass that was different than the Fender. I had probably, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it sounded more metal. You
Yeah,
know,
I want to say I probably had a
Fenders.
half a dozen Ibanez's. One of them being, actually BTB. I had no thinking. Yeah, probably half a dozen of those.
So you gave him a
But
good
and I had
shot.
a couple, and I had a couple Tobias bases. I've had some nice bases that I do kind of regret getting rid of, but it's been a long time. So, they keep coming up with so much cool stuff. And like I said, ordering something from the Fender Custom Shop, that's always been a dream of mine. So I'm going to make that a reality, like I said, within the next couple of years and get it all to my specs and how I want it built. So
Right. Have you ever tried a Mercury Washburn?
no, I actually have not.
Have you heard
I
other
don't think.
bassists talk about them?
No, I mean I'm familiar with Washburn, but I'm not familiar with that bass.
The Mercury series is just a series of the basses, but any Washburn, I just said the Mercuries because my dad actually had a couple of those. He still has, like, most of his basses are Washburns, and he refuses to get rid of them because, one, the sound. It's got more of that
Mm-hmm.
Billy Sheehan sound that I can't even describe it sound. And
It's a very unique, distinctive tone that
yeah,
I
and
like.
and those basses are so sought after that people that have them sitting in their closets collecting dust refuse to get rid of them because they're already worth a few grand a piece, even in
Oh wow.
even in the shittiest of conditions, because people will fix those up and man, because those things are just awesome. If there was a sound that you could, well, actually, low key, with all the different basses you have and effects you have and rigs you have, I bet you can recreate a lot of different sounds. But what is a sound that you have had the hardest time trying to recreate as a cover band artist?
I would probably say not for any of my specific bands, but when I did my event for Pocket Q, when I did Billy Sheehan, he's got a very, very distinctive tone, and he does. I read an article on that not too long ago. He's got quite the setup and all the effects and patches that he runs to get that tone and that gnarly overdrive that he has when he does those tapping harmonics and crazy tapping. So when we did Addicted to That Rush, I tried with the amount of time that I had to try to dial in the tone, but it still wasn't the same like he had. I made it so it could be pulled off, but not to 100% of my liking, so to speak. But that would probably be one of the toughest. He's got a unique tone. The guy's a monster too, but he's just got a distinctive tone that's kind of hard to duplicate.
So far, the craziest I've seen has been Pete Steele. Typo Negative.
Oh, okay.
He put a guitar with his bass.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's like a guitar sound distortion and melodies, but the fucking low drive crunch of a bass, and it's like, how the fuck?
Well, I guess it's like kind of similar to Lemmy from Motorhead, how he's got his weird tone too. It's very distinctive, and you're the same thing. You're like, what the hell? How the?
Right,
That's a bass guitar,
right. That came out of that.
Oh, Cliff Burton had a unique sound too. For when he, back in the day when he played with his Wasp, his Aerial Pro, and I can't remember, but I read an article on that. He had a unique setup too for different sounds and tones. He had a gritty, like gnarly bass tone that really cut through. You could hear it, you could feel it. Um, but I guess with all the bands nowadays, there's just and with the equipment and the technology, it's just so amazing how many different tones you can get. I'm still a work in progress. I am not that very good in dialing in really good different effects and tones. A handful of my guitar players that I play with they're just like a walking computer. They just know how to do all of it. They just know how to program it in. Like Andy Holly from 10 Feet Tall. He knows how to enter all these patches into all these songs. We'll do a night of like 50 songs. He's got a different patch for each one. I'm like, how the hell do you remember to go to which patch to which effect? And a lot of clicking and this and that. It just blows my mind. But
Wow.
that's technology. I mean, you get what you pay for. Stuff's expensive, but at the end, it's worth it, and you're sounding like a pro. So
Yeah, yeah. That quality in the sound really is it. It's not so much as like back in the day, it was a statement. It was like a status symbol of like how big your rig was or like how cool looking it was and everything.
oh
And
yeah,
and
look
then
intimidating. It made you look intimidating. It made you look like a monster on stage, and now everybody's like, "Fuck
yeah,
that."
it's all like, nah, man. See, at 2 a.m., I do not want to be dragging that home in the snow.
Exactly. I don't
Everyone
want to be
got.
carrying up the flight of stairs into my upper apartment. A huge
Hmm.
flight of stairs and breaking my back when I'm beat already.
Yeah, I feel you.
You
I
know,
don't know. I don't know how you are. Like how old are you? Like you don't look
I
too
just
old.
turned 50. Just turned 50 in October. So they always say age is a number, and I don't look like it, but I'll tell you this much: I sure feel it sometimes.
I'm gonna say this, Dad. If you're watching, you should have probably gotten to them native genes because holy fuck.
I'm getting blessed with that, and I mean, obviously, staying active is key as we get older. I've realized that when I perform on stage now, that I have to stay overly hydrated in order to pull off a good show where I don't get fatigued, where I don't get tired, where I don't get you know faint or anything like that. Unfortunately, in 2016, I was diagnosed with diabetes, so I've learned how to deal with that and adjust things. You know, I'm getting my stage preparation for shows and having the things that I need on there in case things go up too high or down too low. I'm sure anybody that's listening that's diabetic can relate that it's a constant struggle, and when you're a musician, it puts a little more pressure on you because you got to keep that regulated while you're performing. So instead of pricking your fingers a bunch of times to get your blood sugar, they now have meters and stuff that you can insert into your arm and take your phone and scan it and get the numbers that you need. So I can do that after a song within a few seconds to know if I'm good or bad and where I need to hydrate more, take some medication, eat some sugar. It just all depends. It's been a a big learning curve, but that just kind of goes, being a musician, like I said, you gotta keep an eye on that stuff. So I'm a little more self conscious about that
I like
now, more so because I'm older.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a lot with the actual diabetes.
I don't wish it on anybody. It's like the hardest. I was a smoker for 34 years, smoked cigarettes, and once I got diagnosed, the doctor's like, if you're at more risk now of having amputation because the smoking's going to restrict your circulation, and when you get diabetes, your circulation isn't as good anymore. So I'm like, oh well, fuck that. I'm not losing my hands. I would be crushed if I lost my hands. I wouldn't be able to play anymore. So I'm like, what's more important? Quitting smoking has got nothing on diabetes. I smoked
Right.
for 34 years. I'm going on year 6 of smoking not a cigarette for 6 years.
Did you just
So
like stop cold turkey?
I did because I got
Man.
freaked out. I watched episodes of people getting their feet amputated, their hands amputated. It's just like, wow, I don't want to. I mean, we're only human. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna eat what we want. Sometimes it is what it is. We enjoy the certain pleasures in life, especially food, the sense of food, the taste of food that gives us comfort, that makes us happy, and, with all the sweets. And of course, now when I got diabetes, now I have a huge sweet tooth. Versus back then when I was a kid, I liked sugar, but not as much as I like it now. Like, go figure. So, so I get excited when it's low and I get to eat something sweet. So,
Yeah.
but, but like I said, I know a handful of other musicians that are in the area that have diabetes, and they have to do the same thing. So it's more of a common thing now. Unfortunately, and I use the word unfortunately, that more and more people are becoming diabetic. So, it can happen at any given time. So everyone thinks it's because of eating too much sugar. That's not it. It is a
Yep.
genetic. Usually, it's a genetic disorder that appears and it pops out of nowhere. And a lot of people, they don't realize it, but they're already pre-diabetic and they don't even realize it. It's just a matter of time before you cross that threshold and boom, you can't go back. It's done. So,
Yeah, as a kid, my dad was always like, randomly, he would just check our blood sugar just to make sure that there
yeah.
was no early signs. It affects people differently and hits different areas of them harder than others.
Hmm.
Like you said, it may be your hands that are hurting more than anything, or somebody else with the blood sugar. But even with that blood sugar stuff, my father always had the fucking warning signs. He was all like, dude, if you ever like peeing a lot and your vision's blurry, stuff like that,
Hmm.
your blood sugar's high. You know what
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean? You start shaking, your brain turns to mush, okay, your blood sugar's low.
You
Okay.
got it. Yeah. You know it.
He was like,
And I don't know
so,
what's worse. To have it when it gets too low when you feel like you're going to pass out is not a good feeling.
yeah,
But my diabetes is under control. It's been under control for a while. When I first got diagnosed, my A1C, I believe, was almost 13.
damn,
So that would be equivalent to around the low 300s.
man.
You a normal person that's non-diabetic, you want that range from 85 to 125.
Damn, so you were at
Yeah.
three times the limit.
Yeah, so I dropped that. I went from a 13 all the way down to a 6.2.
Yeah, three times the limit. That sounds like my last breathalyzer. No.
It is what it is. I've accepted it. It's a good thing, I do have a physical job, and that's by choice. Doing that kind of work, I mean, nowadays as we get older, we like to, uh, do more work that's not so strenuous on our bodies. Whether it's doing office work or doing some kind of delegation and all that. But for me, the work that I do, I'm in warehousing, and it works out good. It keeps my sugars regulated, keeps me moving, keeps my joints going, keeps me looking young, so
Right.
to speak. It's better than me sitting around and aging kind of thing. So I mean, it is what it is. It
Right.
hasn't stopped me from playing, that's for sure, and
Man,
it won't. So
man, there's not much that's gonna stop you from playing, especially once you hit a certain age. Like you know, they say, "Oh yeah, no, they ain't gonna change now. No, no,
right.
they're gonna be that asshole forever, or they're gonna be that awesome person forever, or they're gonna be that this way forever." Yeah, man, man, musicians are definitely that way. As soon as they pick it up, nah, it's more than likely for life. In one way
Yeah,
or another, you're gonna be
we'll
doing
play
music.
until we can't play anymore, literally. So it's in our blood, it's in our soul, it's in our heart. That's just what we do. Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Well, you got any other shows coming up in these bands, or like, because I mean,
yeah, I
a
do,
lot of
man.
people came down for the winter, but I noticed that like you guys and Thrasher and Conniption and they're all like starting to ramp up.
Well, I mean, it is club season now, so I mean, during the summer it's more festival season. There's more bands playing on the festivals, the fairs, uh, the Harley rallies that they have during the summer. But when club season starts, when festival season ends, it's a big deal because basically during this cold weather, there ain't shit to do. Everybody, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sit at home and be, a vegetable every day, every weekend. People want to get out, still enjoy life. I mean, sure, there's other outdoor activities. They like to, ice fish, snowmobile, but a lot of people like to really go and stay nice and toasty and drink and go see live music. So it is a busy time, actually. It's just as busy as festival season. All the local clubs that are around are just doing that as well. They're staying busy. That's their bread and butter as well.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of
Um,
the local clubs are getting a lot better with their sound setups. A
they
lot
are.
of the rock venues are like starting to take pride in their fucking setup. It's starting to be really
Things
cool.
have come a long way, for the venues and what to do and what not to do, what makes the money, what makes it work better, what making a good relationship with bands that play there, so they're repeat customers. I mean, us being in bands, we are the customer to venues because we're there to make them money and obviously make ourselves a little bit of money too. But it's obviously not just about the money. Most importantly, it's about just seeing people having a good time, getting into the music, coming back to see you over and over again. That's the most important. The other stuff's all a perk, but obviously you want to make the club owner happy. But yeah, I do have a bunch of dates coming up for 10 Feet Tall, my band, my variety rock band. We are playing at 1175 in Kansasville, November 18th. We're playing at the Q Club November 22nd, the night before Thanksgiving. So that'll be a crazy day. I know that's one of the busiest times of the year for people to party and drink. Um, December 8th, 10 Feet Tall is playing at Steel Tank Brewery in Oconomowoc. It's a new venue open, and it's co-owned by Mike Rankin of Disturbed, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're at Potawatomi Bingo, 10 Feet Tall, December 16th and December 23rd at Rockin' Brews. That's a new venue from Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons that just opened that location not too long ago. It's a killer place. And then we're back January 13th at Paulie's Pub in West Dallas on 84th Street for 10 Feet Tall. For Hangar 18, my Megadeth tribute band, we are playing December 2nd at Paulie's, same place on 84th in West Dallas. Aces High is playing January 20th at the bar in West Dallas off Hawley and 60th. We have a Conniption show coming up to be announced soon. I can't disclose any information yet, but it's coming. And then I have one more final show. It's a one-off show from a project that I did do last year. It was called the Red Hot Temple Pilots. It's basically a tribute to Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stone Temple Pilots. It was supposed to be an original one-off. We did it at Q Club of Wisconsin in Waukesha. It was a big hit, so we decided to do a couple more. Now we're just going to do the final one because everybody's more invested into their other projects that they have, and we just don't have the time to put into that. So that is January 27th at Shank Hall. So you want to come and see a set of Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots, along with Pearl Jam and Soundgarden tribute band, I believe, as well.
Man.
So which is really cool. So yeah, a lot of shows coming up. It'll be pretty busy.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
on top of that, I also have a benefit coming up next February. It's at Q Club of Wisconsin. It's called Pocket Q Sessions. We had it last year. It was a very successful event. It was a fundraiser for Guitar for Veterans. It's local musicians came out and basically gave their support, donated their time and talents to putting together a monster set of different variety of music, interchanging different musicians. With craft music, endorsing it, sponsoring it. Um, we raised $7,500. We gave like 30 some veterans a nice guitar so they could, keep themselves occupied with the power of healing with music. So it was a huge deal. Um, we had other people that came in to volunteer their help. Mitch Paget, formerly from the Hog, came in, did a big session on us, big feature, which was really cool. We had some other donations. We had, I think Tim Cron, he's a photographer, came and donated his time, took a lot of really cool pictures, uh, did a promo video for us. We decided it's such a big hit. We want to make it an annual thing, so we're doing it again, same month, basically same weekend, the weekend before the Super Bowl, February 3rd. Starts at 8 o'clock, goes to 1, about 1:30. 52 musicians this time. We went from 30 musicians last time to 52. Uh, Quite a significant amount more. Each the songs that each person's gonna do is maybe a little less, but we added more time into this time around. I think we added another almost 2 hours so we could get this time in. Some really killer songs that everybody's picking. This basically works around the bass player and drummers. Because guitar players and singers, they always get the glory. They're like, oh, bass. Forget about the bass player, you know. It's always the bass
Right.
player. And the drums are cool. People love the drums. It's usually the bass player, really, that doesn't get the love that we should, I feel. So that's, what kind of started this event for me. It's like, let's kind of work around the bass and the rhythm section. And the rhythm section consists of a certain amount of people that all pick their favorite, artists that inspired them to play the bass guitar or the drums, whether it's, male vocals, female vocals, it doesn't matter. If they had a catchy drum line or a catchy bass line, we picked it. And then we have an awesome support cast of vocalists, but one of the best vocalists, guitarists, and multi-instruments musicians in the area are coming together for this. So definitely, definitely try to make this, if all possible, February 3rd of next year, 8 o'clock. Huge success last year, lots of fun, a lot of raffles. Wisconsin Harley Davidson of Economowoc is jumping on board with this as well, being a sponsor, and it's always going to be at the Q Club of Wisconsin. Great venue, huge venue. The music promoter there, Tim Dunn, great guy. I've known him for years, good friend of mine. We work really well together on trying to do these things. Yeah, so if you can make it, awesome.
Man, I actually low key want to touch in a little bit more on the guitars for vets because every now and then you used to always see somebody in the industry would always have some kind of charitable event, whether it be for youth, whether it be for something.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't really seen too many people looking at the vets, and this is a really big thing here. There's a lot of vets that get their back. The
They get
government will
shit
turn
on.
them back on. Yeah, they get shit
They,
on.
they get shit
By
on. And for the life of me, what is wrong with people? Seriously, what is wrong with people? These men and women are giving up their lives or giving up body parts to ensure our freedom. I don't really think people understand how free this country is and why it's free, because we have veterans that protect our country so we can enjoy the things in life that we love to do. It's the ultimate sacrifice. Besides, doctors performing miracles and saving lives, and firefighters and police, veterans working in the military and serving our country is like to me is one of the highest amounts of respect I can give somebody, and to see somebody, see people like shit on them and disrespect them and think they're just like crazy, war
crazy
veterans.
old person, crazy old homeless
It
person.
makes me very sad, I mean,
Man, because they don't
I mean,
remember that guy was probably more badass than you'll fucking ever be in your life, at
oh,
some point.
exactly. I mean,
Until his helicopter got blown the fuck up and now he's missing limbs and shit, and the government turns his back on him because he can't quite, say what the fuck is wrong with him because,
PTSD,
yeah,
that's some real shit. I
you
mean,
know,
it messes these guys up, these people up for life, and that's what's so cool about the power of music. Power of music and animals. These veterans get the companionship they need. When they feel lonely with these. I think they do this now with pets. With dogs or cats that
yeah.
give the sense. Give the veteran a sense of warmth and security and like an emotional attachment to something. And then you throw in music with that, a guitar, and help eliminate that negativity out of your heart and soul, and give it with fill it with positivity and love and stuff like that. I mean, it goes a long way, man. It's like one of the best things that you can do. And so for us to do what we've done last year and to do it again, it was a no-brainer for anybody. Didn't even hesitate to say, I let me think about it. They were in. I had people message me left and right. I'd like to be a part of this. I'd like to want to do this. this is what we appreciate. We love our veterans, So I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, yeah. There's people when they think of veterans of wars, they think of like years ago or like somebody's grandfather, and it's like even right now as we're making this
Oh
episode,
God.
there are Americans. They're not even soldiers. They just work at an embassy or something over in Iraq, over in Syria, over in Israel. We got Americans being attacked crazy. We got submarines and warships sitting over there right now because this shit's getting serious over there. And yes, Americans are over there getting bludgeoned. And we're
They
over
are.
here worried about whose house we're going over to for Thanksgiving. And this goes around to overall being a good person because you see somebody on the streets, especially in like West Milwaukee, around by the VA, you see a
Yeah, yeah.
homeless person down there, 9 out of 10 chance they're a vet. Like, do you have a lot of vets in your family or?
My father's a veteran. He served in the army. I have a couple other uncles and relatives that served in the military. But just seeing, throughout the years of the wars that have happened, like whether it was Desert Storm or 9/11, just veterans just of how much they sacrificed. And when you really think, like I said, you put things in perspective. If you actually sit down and you really think about what these people are actually doing, like doing the ultimate sacrifice, of like it's a selfless act, and it's the most courageous thing I've ever seen to do that. So we can just, like I said, live our daily lives and pretend like everything's peachy keen kind of thing, and
Right.
these guys are, these men and women are just going to town with badassery, and they're not appreciated, So I mean, that's kind of, I always had a soft spot for our veterans. I've always had a soft spot for homeless people. So, and like you said, some of these veterans are homeless, so that makes it even worse. That they don't even have a home to go to. They have nowhere to go to for Thanksgiving. It's very sad and depressing. And I'm glad, like I said, that we can do something to at least try to make a difference. And I
Yeah.
think everybody that's involved with this benefit can totally agree with me on that.
So let's get a little bit more back into some some more personal on there. Like let's find out when you were a little kid and you picked up that broom in your room for the first time and you started doing a little air guitar thing. Who did you imagine you were? Who was the first person you looked up to as far as a musician?
Oh boy, I guess one of them would be Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden, but back then I was pretending I had a fake pick. I'm like, oh, Steve Harris doesn't use a pick.
Right.
Yeah. And then there was Def Leppard too, the old Def Leppard like Pyromania, uh, On Through the Night, High and Dry.
Man, that
That
On Through the
was,
Night was like the first and only real Def Leppard album, and after that it was like commercial. It was they
yeah,
just did
oh
what
yeah.
they were told.
I listened to hair metal too, back in the '80s too, and but I also listened to thrash. So I listened to, I air guitared, like Metallica, Metallica back then Megadeth. I always thought when I first heard that iconic Pete Sells beginning with the bass, I wanted to do that. So playing that in the Hangar 18 band's a lot of fun. So
Yeah, man, that song Hanger Rachel. Every time I hear that band, the name of the band, I always just think of the song. You
Hangar
know,
18's a great song. I mean, that whole album's a masterpiece. Rest in peace. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like Dave Mustaine," and then his voice isn't for everybody. I get that, but for what they do and how different he is, it works. So,
yeah. Well, even the kind of person he is. Like, I mean, he's up there with Axl Rose as far as being a little emotional. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, or even strict. Because like,
he's from what I've heard and what I've read, yeah, he's got a different personality, and he may be hard to work with, but you know, his demons that he's gone with in the past and what he's overcome and everything like that. He's very particular. It's his band, so he's going to be very particular on how he wants things done to put himself, his mind at ease, his musicality at ease. Because he is the main songwriter of that band. So
a lot of real artists are like, it's like the more intricate your mind, the odder you are. Like Mozart, fucking weird ass dude. Like, I mean, like one of the weirdest dude ever.
but
So it's like,
boy, could you write some compose some music, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you got to think, as weird as they are in here, that's the stuff that makes them think outside of the box in
Right.
music and to create new things and to make you really go, oh shit, I didn't know you can do that, or
Right.
so it's like it really the personality comes with the talent, it's like I like anybody I know. It's like the higher the creativity, the odder the person.
Yes, very true. But on the flip side, for personality, you want, it's good to get along with your bandmates on a different flipping the coin there. It's not just about bringing talent together and making a band work and all that. It's finding the right people that you can click with, that you can talk with, that you can compromise with, that you can share ideas with, be open with, that you can trust. I mean, those are huge. I mean, when you're in a band, you're technically in a relationship with, four dudes, five dudes, three dudes,
Pause.
one girl, one woman. Doesn't matter. You're in a committed relationship and you need to make it work. It's almost like a marriage by music. You have to make it work.
No homo.
I've seen so many great bands, whether they're celebrities or they're local bands. I've seen a lot of talents, and those talents have had to separate because they couldn't get along. A
Yeah.
lot of it's always over music differences. A lot of it's always about writing differences, and that's just it. When you're doing that kind of thing, you either got to compromise, or you got to act. You got to play it fair, and you just got to act it like it's a democracy. And if if democracy rules, majority rules, that way, it's set in stone, and there's really no need to. It's an agreement that you have from the get go, and once you agree on that, I mean, that's what you agreed on. So.
What would you say is the hardest obstacle of trying to keep a lineup?
I would say, I mean, it's basically like I said, consistency and compromise. If one person decides to, fall off the radar and not put their time into it, and it starts showing at shows the performance is bad, which is a rare case because all the people I've worked with have always come prepared. And sure, we all have off days. I think any musician can relate. We've all had times where we've had a hiccup on stage, or hit a wrong note, or forgot a fill or run, but it happens. We're all not perfect. We're all human, So um, I think really the whole thing is this. If you can just take constructive criticism, uh, if you can take constructive criticism and you can compromise, if on writing and all that, you're gonna make it. But if you those two big things, but if you can't do those two things, it's just gonna get ugly. It's going to get
Right.
ugly. It's going to be a big fallout. And then now you're in the market again for another musician that's missing from your band. So I always feel guilty, when I'm joining a band or something in the past or the present, when I'm replacing somebody, I feel guilty. I'm just like, oh, I feel like it's no disrespect to the person that I'm replacing by any means. Um, but you only live once. If there's something else that's vacant and you want to try to explore that opportunity, by all means,
Right.
it's you got to do in a certain degree, and I say this very lightly. In a certain degree, you got to do what's best for you, within a certain amount.
Yeah. Knowing your limits as to like, what, I'm not going to be able to work with this, or what, I can do this.
Yeah,
Like,
because like I said, you don't want to go through life with regrets. You don't want to like say, oh, this is good enough, and then just realize 5, 10 years later, I'm like, oh, you know what? Really should have done something else. Well, if you're second guessing yourself after 5 or 10 years, you should have done it from the get go. You should have done something different, and that's kind of like my second half of life where I've been able to do a lot more music. It's like that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm taking it on as much as I possibly can until I can't do it anymore, with no regrets. Because if I don't, and I look back and I'm 80, 85 years old, and I look back and I'm like, shit, I didn't do that. Shit, I didn't do that. Nick, everyone goes, Nick, why are you in so many bands? Because I love all that kind of stuff. This is the stuff that I want to do. This is stuff that is on my bucket list. Music is, besides my family and my wife, it's music. So I mean, I gotta do everything I possibly can
yeah.
to do what I can do.
Do you have any regrets?
I have none so far. I am living. I am. I mean, I think I'm living proof in Milwaukee at least. I think the only other person that I'm tied with is Benny. Benny Boswell. He's the drummer of 10. He's my drummer of 10 Feet Tall. He's also in multiple bands too. He's in 10 Feet Tall. 10 Feet Tall. He's in Master of Puppets, a Metallica tribute band, which, by the way, they shred. Great band. You got to go see them sometime. They do a lot of shows with Thrasher, believe it or not. He's in that. He's in a band called the Sociables, and he's also in a original band called Bellevue Suite.
They're still around?
They are. I don't know. I think they're taking a break because Jeremy Jason just came back from a tour with Disturbed. He's their guitar tech, and he's also sat in and done some songs with Disturbed live, which is great. That's like a dream come true, And he's a phenomenal guitar player as well. So him, Michael Sean, Danny Walters, great guys, great musicians. So Benny's part of that too. So him having that original outlet is kind of why we do what we do. He has his like preferences for metal, the variety. He's got classic rock, and then he's got original rock. So it's like do everything that you can until you can't do it anymore. If you can juggle it all and make it work, we always go by the thing. Every band that we do, any other bands that are busy, they use the Google Calendar. Google Calendar, so everybody blocks dates. This date's for 10 Feet Tall. Now, let's say a month later, like halfway into the month, like on the 15th, it's open, and Aces High wants to play and book an Iron Maiden show. Well, it's open. I'm going to book it. It's a first come first serve thing, and that's the agreement you got to have with all your other bands, and letting them know at least and keeping the communication open, saying, look, I want to do this. I'm asking you, but I'm not asking you. I'm asking for
I'm
your
making sure
permission.
your guys' schedule will allow you to
You're
be
right. So it's kind
here.
of like a respecting where you're just letting them know because, this is stuff that I want to do. And if you're not cool with it and you don't want to do that, then maybe I'm not going to go forward with this. It's not, it's not going to work.
Right.
So, and I've made it clear with everybody, and everybody's just been so cool and supportive of it. The guys in my other bands have come see my other bands that I play in and all that, and it's a cool feeling to know that they got your back no matter what as a bandmate, that they're happy for you, that you're doing other genres of music that make you happy, and that's a good bandmate. That's a good friend.
Right. Um, you know, we're an hour in again. Like yesterday, we did like an hour and a half. And it's like here it is another hour, and I'm all like, man, I could sit here and shoot the shit with you all fucking day long. Like,
Yeah, that's killer, man. I enjoy it for sure. And we can always shoot the shit again down the road. I see you around. I mean, I think what you're doing for this community and for the Milwaukee scene is incredible. I think more musicians should take note, of what you're doing, putting in the time, the energy, trying to give people recognition. And at the same time, it benefits you as well. Gives you recognition. The people, not only musicians, but the general public can see what you're doing, that you're trying to try to just show people, different musicians in the area, what they mean to the scene area, what they can do, what club owners are really great, what music venues that are very popular, how supportive they are of supporting local music. So what you're doing is a great thing. If anybody's watching, I would definitely do an interview with you for sure. Um, it's a very classy thing that you're doing, and I can definitely say I appreciate it very much.
man, thank you very much. It is statements like that that really do it really does make it worth it. I do it for the love of music. I believe that everybody is out here doing their thing. A lot of the first thing that people really want to do is leave a legacy. When I'm gone, are people going to remember me? And if they do, what will they remember me for? How will they remember me? And
Absolutely.
you
And
know,
that's important when you're leaving a legacy, but I want to be more known for a legacy of a good person that I was, a genuine person, somebody who cares, somebody who's supportive, that's thankful to the community, thankful for I want to be remembered by that first and foremost. The musicianship can come after that, that just, it speaks on how passionate I am about certain things in music, but being a good quality human being, that's the best part right there, because it's sad. There's a lot of people in the world that just aren't good human beings. It's
right.
sad but true. Truth be told, and you know make the memories while you can. Do everything that you can with no regrets. Uh,
No
I would give
regrets.
advice. What's that?
No regrets. There's a
Yeah,
commercial with
right. No
the
regrets.
with the
Yeah, yeah.
wrong.
For advice for people, like for younger kids and stuff like that, I would tell them basically, be humble. I'm always be humble. Doesn't matter how old you are. Like I said, I'm 50. I've been playing for 37 years now, and I'm still humble as shit. I There's a lot of musicians out there that humble the shit out of me. I might not think to them and all that, but I think in my head, I'm like, God damn, that person's good. And I don't say, I don't. You got to have that fine balance where you got to be confident, but not cocky at the same time. You got to have an inner arrogancy that you don't flaunt to anybody else, but keep it to yourself. That builds your confidence booster. Because if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to do what you want to do in the way you want to do it. So be humble, don't be cocky, and practice your ass off. I mean, practice, practice, practice. If you want to take your seriousness of becoming and evolving into a better musician every day, every month, every year, you got to practice, practice, practice.
Right. I want to add to that because when people's first reaction when they hear somebody say practice, 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 their first thought is practice makes perfect. No. Practice makes permanent. How you practice is how you perform. If in practice you're like, "Oh, I'll get that right. It's something simple. I'll be able to get that no problem on the show." If you can't get it right now, you ain't going to be able to get it right at the show.
No, and it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit.
You
So
know,
there's a lot of people that will say, "Well, I'll just wing it." You
yeah,
don't
you
want to
know.
wing it. I mean, winging it is, you can get away with doing some winging if you're at open jam, if you're trying to figure out the song on stage,
Right.
which I've seen. But if you're in a professional working band, yeah, you don't, and you're performing and it's a paid show, it's a contract, you have contractual obligations, you don't want to wing it. You want to try to put on the best show that you can so the audience is believing in you that you're putting out the best product that you possibly can and they're buying into it. So, like I
But
said, you have a good, and the people that you're interviewing, have a good line of communication, and we're a good resource tap of, trying to help you find, once you're getting to that point of, wanting to get that going or, adding on to it, we're a good resource to help you out and basically share a network with you to help you find those players. That's the cool thing about Milwaukee and the scene. When bands break up and people have to start different projects, we're all in this together for a resource to try to help each other find what they want to do next. So
right, we realize we gotta live with each other. Whether you're in
yeah,
my band or that band, I'm still
yeah,
gonna
and not
see
kill each
you.
other. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are moments where things aren't perfect and things get heated and all that, but it's how you bounce back and how you compromise and get out of it and go forward with it is what counts the most. So, I hate judging people because I don't want to be judged. That's just kind of my rule of thumb. And if somebody's struggling on stage, hey, you were at that one point too. If they're struggling, even not being on stage, just trying to learn the instrument, hey, you were at that one point too.
Right.
Give that person the credit all in the world that they're trying to follow their dream and they're trying to use that power of music to do something with it. So give it time. Give that person respect. It doesn't matter what level they are on. Like I said, I don't judge people. I don't want to be judged either. And the people that do judge people, it's just not cool.
Man,
So that's just me.
it could be scary as shit up there too. Like you're thinking you're bombing because no one's doing anything. Everyone's just kind of hanging out and everything, and then like the song will end. You'll hear crickets even. And then after the show, though, as you're loading up, you're thinking you just had the worst show of your life. People come, hey, man, that was really awesome, man. You guys are really great. It would have been nice to know that.
Yeah, we've had those before too. That's definitely an awkward thing, and that's something I don't get. I think some people are a little crowd shy. They don't want to be that one person. They're afraid that if they cheer, that they might be the only one and nobody else will. So they keep quiet. And they feel more comfortable approaching the band or the bandmates afterwards. We get that a lot, actually. There have been a couple shows though that the crowd's just into it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, like the recent Conniption show, the crowd was going crazy. You were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were definitely into it. The Hangar 18 and Aces High show at High Noon Saloon in Madison, practically almost had a mini mosh pit going. We had people just singing and, you know, just throwing their hands up and just singing to the songs all night long. You get those, but like you said, then you get the ones that are it's crickets, but you think you sucked or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they come up to you and you're like, oh, you like you said, oh man, that was great, that was killer, that was killer. When are you guys coming again? And you're just like, where the fuck were you, man?
Right. And I'm a very in your face front man. Like, I mean, I'm all about the crowd engagement. I'm over here getting people going. I'm doing weird shit on the stage, rubbing a nipple over here. Like, I'm that guy. So it's like when I do all this weird stuff and I see you guys just standing there like, I feel like I'm in the wrong place now.
You're like looking at your bandmates. Don't fire me. No.
Right. It's like, am I not supposed to jump around? I thought I was supposed to entertain. Are you not entertained? Like, what is going on? Is this not? You want to see me hit a backflip? I'm not gonna do it. I mean, it's gonna hurt, but I can try. But like, I like keeping off on that last piece of advice on there that you have for anybody that is, younger. But
Yeah,
I
I
want
want
to hit
to.
it with somebody that is going through it, that is at that point where they get the, oh, yes, you're awesome. And they get the, no. And they're at that point where they're deciding whether they should keep going or just hang it up for good. What advice do you have for them?
You're only really failing is when you're giving up. There's constant there's constant failing while you're performing or while you're practicing and all that. It's how you bounce back from it is what counts. That keeps you going as a player. So throwing in the towel, that's failing because you gave up on yourself. You gave up on your passion. You didn't believe in yourself. You didn't have the confidence. There's a variety of things. So yeah, you just got to keep pushing forward on it. And if you think you've learned everything about music and you're perfect and all that, you shouldn't be a musician because let me tell you something. I could be playing till I'm 80. I'm still not going to learn everything. It's a constant revolving door of knowledge through other people, through yourself, through other bands, through other songs. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with it. So that would definitely be my final piece of advice going forward for anybody that's out there. That's whether young or old. Doesn't matter if you're 60. You can start playing guitar. It doesn't matter.
Man, awesome. Just keep going. Just, man, follow
Uh, Follow your
you.
dream, and necessarily like everybody wants the rock and roll dream and making it big, but you don't even need that. Just succeeding as a musician is the ultimate dream. Just being able to do what we do and why we do it. To me, that's killer. Making it big and all that's just the bonus that goes with it because you're never
Yes,
going to stop playing.
right. I
So
get paid in applause. The
you know
big,
what, and
the bigger the applause, that's the more I got paid tonight. I mean,
that
I will
it
feel
makes
like
it
I just
all
made
worth
five
your
grand
while.
tonight, as long as it's a.
It, it makes it all worth that while when you're getting paid at the end of the night. You're just like, I don't even care about that. Don't even care about that. People have the time of their life. They're saying fuck yeah, I'm gonna come back to that. That to me is the best feeling. That nobody can take that away, or I don't think would disagree with me on that. You know, would you rather get paid $1,000 for a gig and only have 5 people show up, or would you rather get paid $100 each, 500 for the band, and have it be sold out and packed and people getting into it? Of course, you would want more money. Money comes in time with everything, hand in hand. Feeding off the crowd and people that are loving your music, that's the ultimate high as a musician. So
Yeah, because even this past year, I've done shows. We did one of the things nearby we did was the Oshkosh Arena. Now that holds like close to like 10,000 people, and we're like all pumped for it. Like man, there's like some other big names on this thing. Like it's a major event. This is gonna be awesome, and I come around and I look outside, and there is like 30 people in this arena.
oh, wow.
I had no idea what to do. I mean,
Wow.
I like
You're like paid band practice?
yeah, but seeing that, I was like, I
Yeah.
have had shows at the smaller venues. I was so pumped up for this being an arena. That's when I was like, man, it doesn't matter if it's at an arena or at a small show. Would you rather have an empty arena or a packed small house?
Right, exactly.
Man, because the energy in that packed small house, if we had that same like 30 people in like
It
some
makes a
corner bar
difference. Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
that would have been
No,
the
it
most
does.
lit night.
You know what though? Like I said, I mean, there's no substitute.
Right.
There's no. That's the ultimate reward. You know, people appreciating what you do when they're that when they come and constantly see you and they're passionate about it. They're just into it. And they're singing along. Whether it's somebody else's music, whether it's your own music, it's the best feeling in the world. So.
Really is. Well, Nick, man, it is always awesome talking to you, man. I know it's only the
Likewise,
second time
brother.
we've talked, but I mean, man, you're just one of those people you could just sit there and talk to for fucking hours, and it's fucking awesome.
Hey, we can do it again sometime. Maybe we'll check back and we'll do a part two.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm
But I
always down to keep letting people get on here and fucking saying what they got to say.
definitely enjoyed myself. And once again, thank you for having me. And again, if anybody's listening, check this guy out. Like I said, for what he's doing for the community is much appreciated. So look him up. Send him a message and kind of go from there.
Thank you very much from that. And everybody else, don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, name it after me.